to the TaylorMade Workshop. I'm Valerie, and this is part 2 of my laundry room cabinets. In video number 1, I designed and built the cabinets. In video 2 here, we're going to stain, apply the backs, and install them on the walls. Stay tuned. So here's what you need to complete the project. You need yourself some stain, you need a clear coat, paper towels to apply the stain, a paintbrush to apply the clear coat, and a scrap of wood to do your test sample. Okay, so before applying my stain, I've already pre-sanded and wiped down the wood so that there's nothing in the way of getting that rich color. I've also shaken up the can of stain very well. Just shake until you can't shake anymore, because you want all that sludge off the bottom of the can. Otherwise you won't get your good rich color that you're looking for. Now if you notice, the pocket holes are still bare, and that's fine because that's going up against the ceiling, so it's not going to matter. I just take it, dip it in there, and start going in a circular motion. This is my favorite part because now is when you really start to see the wood grain showing through. If you notice, I'm kind of blotting it on along the edge. That's just because there's a cut edge and it's kind of a little bit rough. So it's just easier to blot it than to wipe it around. A lot of people, when they're staining, have learned that you're supposed to go with the grain of the wood. I find that this works best for me, just doing circles, and then the finishing, the last wipe, is straight up and down with the grain. Okay, the goal of getting the stain on is to apply it nice and even. If you don't apply it even, you may end up with streaks. So here's what I do to avoid that. As I'm putting it on in my circles and going up and down, this is not a race, it's a marathon. So you just keep looking and seeing where it needs to be. And you may end up doing 2 or 3 coats. Don't try to get it all on in one coat, because then you're gonna end up with a globby mess. You see how it's kind of streaky there? You just go back and nice and slowly just keep working at it until you get it the color you want it. Okay, now that the cabinets are stained, we're ready for the clear coat. I chose a satin finish because I wanted it to match the existing cabinets that are already in the house. If you notice, there's no faceplate on the center cabinet. That's because I'm waiting until I install them on the wall so that I can make that faceplate to fit perfectly. When applying the stain, you want to go long, even strokes. Thin is better. I'd rather do 3 thin coats than 2 globby coats and end up with it runs in it. My plan is to do 3 coats total, 2 coats, then I'm going to lightly sand it, and then add that 3rd coat for the finish. Okay, now that I have 2 coats of sealer on, I'm going to go ahead and sand. I'm using 320 grit sandpaper, and I'm just doing it by hand, not using an electric sander. Once that's done, then I'll put that final coat of sealer on, and it won't need to be sanded. When I'm sanding, I'm looking for things like this, little blemishes from the sealer, and just really carefully smoothing them out until they disappear. And then just give it a once over real gently. Now that I've sanded the sealer, I'm ready to do that 3rd coat. When I sanded it, it created a lot of dust, so I wanted to make sure I vacuumed and wiped down with a very damp, not very damp, a very well wrung out damp rag, just to make sure that there's absolutely no dust on here, because this is the final coat. We don't want any dust in it. Okay, just like before, we're going to do long, even strokes, nice and thin, so it's not all globby. With that 3rd coat of sealer on and dry, we're now ready to put the back on. I've already sealed the inside of the back, and then I'm just going to line them up and make sure I have it where I want it, and then I'm using 1-inch panel board nails just to hammer them in. backs on the cabinets. Now we're ready to take them upstairs and install them. I think they've come together nicely so far. We're not installing the center cabinet, just the two outside cabinets. That way we can take measurements and know exactly how big to make the faceplate to put on the center cabinet. We are back in the laundry room, ready to install the cabinets. Ideally, you want to attach them to studs inside the wall, but when we went to measure and find the studs, where the studs were located were not where the cabinets were needing to be. So we're using these 3/16 toggle bolts to install. You're going to drill a hole in your wall, pop this baby in there, pull it back, and then it's kind of like a zip strip. It just goes right up against, snug up against the drywall. Then you bend it off and put your screw in, and it holds it nice in place. Each one of these holds 200 and some odd pounds, so I think we're going to be good to go with these. Okay, for this part you're going to want a helper. My husband's going to come in and hold the cabinet in place while I mark the spots in the wall where we need to drill the holes. We've already pre-drilled in the cleats of the cabinet. He's going to hold it up in place up against the wall while I drill into the wall, and then we're going to take the cabinet down and then drill the holes in the wall, the 1/2 inch hole that we need. Let's go over here. Okay, with the holes pre-drilled, marked, now I'm going to drill with a 1/2 inch drill so that the toggle bolts fit. Okay, when you insert your toggle bolt into the wall, you want to make sure that when it opens up, it's going to be up and down. That way it'll be stronger. We are working with an exterior wall, so there's a lot of insulation in there. So it's a little bit tricky to get it. Go. Then you just bend and snap. Okay, so with the toggle bolts in the wall, now my husband's going to come in and hold the cabinet back in place so that I can put the screws in. These are the screws that came with the toggle bolts, but we added a washer just for that extra support so that the screw would not sink into the cleat. Now that the side cabinets are installed, I can go ahead and take that measurement to build the faceplate for the center cabinet. Now that the center cabinet facing is finished, we're ready to install it. We're going to install it just like we did the two outside ones with the toggle bolts because we have no studs to go into. Now that we have the cabinets installed, it's time to put in the little wood pieces that are going to hold the dowel. It comes in a kit, and then we just stained them to match the cabinets. I've already marked where I want them to go. I wanted to make sure that the hanger was not going to hit the wall on the back, so I had to go a little bit more forward than I thought it was going to be, but that's okay. And just so that this doesn't roll around, I'm going to put a little bit of glue on it so that I can get it where I want it and have it stay in place. I've already marked my hole, but a little trick I learned so that the screw doesn't go walking away from where I want it to be. If you just kind of give it a little tap with the screwdriver, it gives it a spot for the point of the screw to stay in place. Can't see where I'm going. Cut the bar to length, making sure that I accounted for the proudness of the inside of those buttons, and ready for install. goes. Yep, perfect. Final step to our cabinet build in this video. I decided I wanted some trim at the top of the cabinets to match the ones that are downstairs. So we bought some trim that was ready to go. I took a 1x3 and angled a 45-degree cut with my table saw so that I could mount the trim to it, and then we're just going to slide it in that little area up at the top to just stick it in, and then attach screws on the inside of the cabinet to attach it to the board. That way we wouldn't have to do nails into the pretty trim. Let's do it. Well, as you can see, they're up. We didn't end up using screws. It was such a snug fit when we got it in there that it's not going anywhere unless there's a tornado, then we've got bigger problems. So in this video, we walked you through staining and installation of the cabinets. If you like the video, give me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. We will do another video where we address the cabinet doors. Thanks for watching. Hi, I'm Valerie. Welcome back to the TaylorMade Workshop. In part 1 video, we built Hi, welcome back to the TaylorMade Workshop. This is part 2. What am I saying? I don't remember. Ready to install it. We're going to install it just like we did the 2 outside ones with those molly bolts. Okay, now we're up in the laundry room. It's time to install the cabinets. You can see one's already put up. Did you already?